few weeks ago, I started noticing a dangerous trend online. Border Patrol agents, or ICE, were not law enforcement. Just days after the trend began, the partner of Renee Good was heard on video saying that she couldn't believe ICE had real bullets. After the second ICE shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz repeated the claim that ICE was not law enforcement. First, the obvious: ICE is law enforcement. They are federal law enforcement officers, and they can not only enforce federal law, but also do so throughout the United States. Until 2025, this was never in question. During the Obama administration, the United States deported 3 million illegal immigrants. ICE was law enforcement at the time that occurred. Obviously, it's politics, but what may not be so obvious is the danger those politicians are creating by telling their followers that ICE has no authority. What would possess a man to allegedly attend a protest with a weapon and no identification, and then get into an altercation with federal law enforcement officers attempting to perform their job? Could it be his belief that he isn't protesting or fighting law enforcement, but masked men kidnapping Americans off the street? Tragically, we may never know. One thing is clear: Governor Walz and others know that ICE is law enforcement, so why are they telling the world they aren't? We've seen this before. A seldom discussed fact in the riots of 2020 was the idea that law enforcement was killing thousands of unarmed black men per year. A study by the Skeptic Research Center showed that liberals believed that police had killed 10,000 unarmed blacks in 2019. It was 12. As I've said many times, if I had believed that, I probably would have been on the streets as well, and this is the problem with the propaganda that is being spewed by Walz and his gang of liars. If you believe that ICE isn't cops, and they are criminals, and they are kidnappers, and they have invaded an American city without bullets, some will do more than post online or protest. They will fight and resist, and when people do, tragedy often follows. The chaos we are seeing can end today, but it will take our leaders not only to tell the truth, but also to give sound advice. Protest is a right, but fighting, resisting, and obstructing law enforcement are serious crimes with serious consequences. That was an article written for lawofficer.com by Travis Yates, obviously in reference to the piss-poor beta leadership being shown by Chief Creatine in Minneapolis, but it obviously doesn't only apply there. What's up, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Shired podcast with DP. I am the aforementioned DP, aka Despop, with the birth name of Jason Semino. I ask that you follow the accounts I showcase unless stated otherwise, as in still do not follow Dan Bongino because that guy is a total dick. Travis Yates doesn't only run lawofficer.com, but he also travels the country giving classes on a range of police-related topics such as use of force and my favorite class, courageous leadership. That class in particular is so important because it doesn't only apply to police and supervisory positions. Every police officer is a leader. They're a leader in the communities they serve. And what police have always needed, now more than ever, is courage. Courage to be right and just and true. You know who didn't take the course? This roided out douchebag. And if you're interested, throw Ivan Reichland a few dollars for his upcoming lawsuit against this prick. I'm trying to get his personnel file so I can put him on full blast publicly because I know how to decipher a cop's personnel file, and I can prove that the Democrats will sign a deal with the devil as long as that devil carries the narrative. We obviously pointed out the cowardice shown by Mr. Testosterone Injection here. And how about this douchebag? He's a sheriff out in Maine who had one of his guys rounded up by ICE. Get that? This guy had a non-citizen wearing a fucking badge. What did he do? He held a press conference to bash ICE, another traitor to the badge who could seriously use the courageous leadership course. In fact, the one time I attended the class was during my only visit to Maine. That's where I saw Travis put on a show. Prior to that, I had attended a ton of these pop-up law enforcement classes, mostly related to my field at the time, which was homicide. But his leadership course definitely had an impact on me. Now, your blue city leaders would never pay what amounts to a small fee to have him in town. I say small fee because the knowledge obtained by the officers is invaluable. The problem is that Travis doesn't sugarcoat. Right is always right, wrong is always wrong, no fucking excuses. So while your mayor or chief won't approve of the discretionary spending, you all have a police union. They have plenty of petty cash on hand, believe me. Reach out to your union reps and have them make some calls. Your chief won't, because you'll come out of this class either realizing you have an amazing boss or a total fucking fraud. And that's why they balk at the idea of a courageous leadership class. This is not a paid advertisement. End of rant. Speaking of Minneapolis, we're now hearing that Numbnuts here actually wasn't an active duty nurse. If reports are to be believed, he quit his job and became a full-time protester. It spooked his family so much that they felt the need to warn him about confronting law enforcement. And apparently he had gotten into it with ICE officers a week before he was brained and suffered a broken rib during that encounter. So now it looks like he came back with a purpose, because it would appear he wasn't armed the first go-round. What is already a messy, though in my opinion justified shoot, as in there was no criminality on the agent's part, is now looking more and more that this guy wanted every inch of this confrontation. And wouldn't it be total irony that a guy on the side that wants guns banned chose the worst possible gun to carry, because after viewing several angles several times, I'm convinced his firearm accidentally discharged, which started a series of sympathetic trigger pulls. Look up sympathetic trigger pulls, because I'm tired of explaining it. And if you don't believe me on the gun, check this vid out from Free the World.
Put some input into the slide somewhere. Will it go off again? Will it release? Let's see. That's 3 in a row. Let me take the screw out. Number 4. Let's try it again. Let me show you. Fully functioning striker safety. All right. Should we do it with the magazine again? Let's put the magazine back in, and then we'll try the last one with the magazine out. Handy dandy trigger input tool. We are going to try to, dang, sorry about that. I'm trying to get over a sinus thing and a cough. We're going to try to simulate all right, here we go. Again, we are roughly, as we saw on the tabletop, I'm guessing we're roughly 1 millimeter to less than 1 millimeter of engagement on that trigger. And let's see if we can get it to go off again. That was 4.
I had to have a very hard conversation with my spouse this morning in light of another murder by ICE agents of an American citizen who was exercising his constitutional rights to observe and to legally carry defense on himself.
I'll stop you right there, you smelly liberal hoa. He wasn't engaged in a single constitutional right. You cannot ever obstruct police or put a hand on them. That is not covered under the First Amendment. And you cannot commit any crime while carrying a firearm, nor can you carry while not in possession of your proper credentials. You say constitutional rights, but what you're describing here is pure constitutional faffo. I've been saying it for years. The greatest threat to our country is teachers' unions. When you come from a broken home, the one chance you have is education. And when your public schools are run by actual fucking communists, you have no fucking chance to make it. None. Name another profession that lacks any form of responsibility as much as the current public school teacher. You haven't had a single student graduate beyond a first grade reading level? No problem. Here's another fucking raise and more days off than you had last year. My son's school called them professional days. How come you're not in school today, son? Another professional day for the teachers. And it seems the Signalgate chat Cam Higbee cracked is mostly filled with public school teachers. Who could have guessed? Now indulge me as I read this piece from an account new to me, L.H. Gray. They don't want peace. Let's burn the fucking pretense to the ground. They don't want unity, they don't want healing, they don't want stability. They want blood in the streets. They want neighbors ready to slit throats over manufactured grievances. They want the entire country snarling, foaming, clawing at each other like rabid animals fighting over poisoned meat, because a fractured, furious populace is the easiest goddamn mark in history. Rome didn't fall to barbarians. It rotted from the inside while its elites orchestrated circus after circus, bread after bread, outrage after outrage. Same script, new century. When an empire can no longer govern with competence, it governs with terror and tantrums, fear, hate, tribal psychosis, endless engineered crises that never resolve, only escalate. That's the ancient playbook, and these parasites are running it with demonic precision. The left has descended into full-blown psychotic delusion, screaming save democracy while they censor, dox, deplatform, surveil, and pathologize anyone who dares think outside their hive. Disagree? You're a threat to democracy. Question the narrative? You're a violent extremist. Refuse the dogma? You're deplorable, garbage, fascist, irredeemable. That's not politics. That's a fucking death cult wearing foreign flags, therapeutic language, and pronouns as camouflage. It's Maoist struggle sessions rebranded with pronouns and corporate sponsorship. It's Stalin show trials with better marketing. And the Republicans in Congress, gutless, spineless, bought and paid for whores. They thunder on the campaign trail like lions, then slink into D.C. and govern like eunuchs. Professional saboteurs, masters of bipartisanship that always means surrender. Experts at fundraising off righteous anger while delivering exactly fucking nothing. They obstruct Trump's agenda harder than the Democrats ever could because they're terrified of actually winning. They're the controlled opposition, paid to lose slowly. So one side is actively raping reality in broad daylight, the other side is jerking off to procedural filibusters. And in the middle, us, watching our country get gang-fucked by parasites who couldn't run a lemonade stand without grift. You don't need tanks in the streets when you can induce mass social schizophrenia. Just keep the population enraged, isolated, and addicted to dopamine hits of outrage, and they'll destroy themselves for you. Arndt saw it in totalitarianism. Orwell mapped the language theft. Whatever that name is, endured the gulag for noticing. Young warned of the shadow projection that turns entire nations into possessed mobs. When shared reality dies, truth becomes whatever the loudest psychopath screams. Loyalty devours reason. Neighbors become mortal enemies over profile pictures and hashtags. This isn't organic. This is deliberate, industrial-scale psychological warfare. Every viral meltdown is engineered. Every crisis is a profit center. Every divided Thanksgiving table is insulation for the regime. It's not just obscene, it's evil. But here's the part these arrogant fucks never counted on. Some of us are still awake, still refuse to be turned into drooling, programmable rage monkeys. They want you unhinged, they want you stupid, they want you violent, they want you easy to control. A calm, discerning, intellectually armed citizen is their existential fucking terror. So no, I'm not calling for civil war, I'm calling for merciless clarity, for cold disciplined fury, for psychological armor, for refusing to swallow their poison. Because the real revolution isn't in the streets, it's in the mind. And once enough minds reject their filthy lying narrative, their entire house of cards collapses. They don't need your violence. They need your compliance. And I will die before I give them mine. Fuck every last one of them. That was easily the most well-articulated ex-post I've read on this latest round of bullshittery occurring in our nation. Spot on. Now it's time for Pepperidge Farm Remembers. And that was another segment of Pepperidge Farm Remembers. Is there a bigger fucking narcissist in social media journalism right now other than James O'Keefe? Get a fucking life, bro. And now time for a brief intermission timeline cleanse with Kyle Seraphin.
Medic.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Back to the action. The word of the day comes from Liberta Charuga. Hope I'm saying that right. Come gobble on this, fishy. What? And now it's time for We Was Kangs.
Can you just do me a favor and say the ABCs, A to Z, without singing it?
After Kangs, we go straight to white people, equal opportunity offenders here at DP Studios.
What up? These are my bodyguards.
Misgender our queen one more time.
We're coming for you, transphobes.
Now, how about a Democrat's B3fer?
Come on my page and say that people should be in this country legally. Don't do it. This is ridiculous. It's inhumane. You are a human being, and don't you dare use Jesus' name or God's name in this and say that this is what he would want and pretend to be a Christian, because you're not. This is pure evil. You are scum of the earth. These are people. These are mothers. These are fathers. These are human beings. And all you care about is where they are geographically. Shame on you. Do better. Be
All
better.
right, Stanley, you ready for some food?
Yes.
Your juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, open wide.
Now a segment called Survive with DP. Some of you may know that I'm a PTSD mental midget, and this post by BK hit me extra hard. Why? Because every one of us afflicted with this demon shows it in different ways, and thus it's not a one-size-fits-all treatment for this awful crapola. But this one fits me to a T. So many people are misdiagnosed or misunderstood because the signs of complex PTSD are sometimes subtle and almost always overlooked, especially in the USA, where we aren't even allowing PTSD as an official diagnosis of yet. So instead, these nervous system survival signs are often viewed as ailments and personality traits instead of survival patterns. Things like over-explaining, people-pleasing, pulling away when hurt, scanning every room for danger or disapproval, expecting rejection before it happens. She goes on to list 17 signs of complex PTSD. I fit every damn one of them. Thank you for that, Coast B. Sticking with BK, it must be fun to urge your voters to go out in the street and sacrifice themselves to protect murderers and rapists and fraudsters while you protest from behind an iron fence. Fuck you, Timothy. Now it's time for the final call. January 28th, 2023, Lieutenant James Bobendorf died as a result of cancer that he developed following his assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site following 9/11 terrorist attacks. Lieutenant Bobendorf was a United States Army Vietnam veteran and had served with New York City PD for 28 years. He was survived by his wife, son, 2 daughters, and 7 grandchildren. Again, another death as a result of 9/11, not counted on the official 9/11 death toll. That number needs to be updated. Also, January 28th, 1938, we'll stick with NYPD. Sergeant David Kilpatrick was shot and killed by burglary suspects in a pawn shop at 2629 3rd Avenue in the Bronx. He and his partner responded to the report of a burglary in progress. When they arrived, they were met with gunfire from 5 suspects. Sergeant Kilpatrick and his partner were hit, while Sergeant Kilpatrick lay on the ground, wounded. One suspect walked up to him and emptied his gun into the sergeant's back. That suspect was then shot and killed by Sergeant Kilpatrick's partner. The other 4 men were arrested. Sergeant Kilpatrick served with NYPD for 30 years and was assigned to the 40th precinct. And we'll finish as we always do with the timeline cleanse. Take us home, Scott Lebedo, reposted by Blonde of War. Later, bitches.
I gotta respond to this wet soy boy, Mr. Frey, the mayor over there in Minneapolis, who on his press conference this morning was begging us Americans to have some compassion and humanitarian. And we will be on the right side of history when our grandchildren ask us, which side of history were you on? You know, with all of this going on. Let me tell you, Mr. Frey, the reason this shit's going on right now is because of people like you that wanted those borders open, that wanted these sanctuary cities, to allow anybody to come in here unvetted, not checked for diseases, crime, criminal records, pedophilia, rape, murder, drugs. You opened up this can of worms and you fucked everything up. All of you did. And now what's happening to some decent people that have been here for decades are being taken and thrown away when they were just here, accepted. It happens. It's leakage. I'm sure one of my ancestors from Italy swam over off the boat and didn't go through the system, but he assimilated and we let it go. We accept. But now everything's just chaotic. You opened up those can of worms. This is on your watch. All of you humanitarians out there. Let me tell you something about the right side of history, fucko. You know what side of history I'm going to be on? And I still am on? I'm on a side of history that wishes that this young lady right here, Jocelyn, was still alive, 12 years old, tied to a tree and repeatedly raped, then strangled and thrown in a fucking river like a bag of dead cats by illegal aliens, Mr. Frey. You know what side of history I'm on, fucko? I'm on a side of history that wishes this young lady, this poor homeless woman, Brina Kawam, nobody even knows her name, set on fire in the New York subway. Nobody helped her, standing there, burning alive. Look at the picture, Mr. Frey, and the rest of you fucking humanitarians. Nobody. This woman, I wish she was still alive. That's the side of history I want to be on. Who burnt her? An illegal alien. The side of history I want to be on, Mr. Frey, is the side of history that wishes hundreds of thousands of our young adults were still here and not dead from fentanyl coming over that fucking open border into these sanctuary cities. That's the side of history I'm gonna be on, fucko. So you could take your fucking bullshit, humanitarianism, and stick it up your fucking ass. Like the rest of you fake fuckers out there.
Domino, motherfuckers. Get him, Jay.
I'm not a cop.
You got DP'd.